Aaron, if you're here, welcome. I wonder what how many months in a row that is for Aaron.
Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG. I'm your host Aaron, and for today's video we're headed to the world of Last Epoch. Mike, one of the senior developers at 11th Hour Games, held his normal Friday Q&A live stream on Twitch, which means I get to bring you Dev Chat 62. As always, lots of great questions were answered. I was able to get mine in this week, and we got 2 leaks from the stream. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. Question number 1, Mike. Do you think there's any part of character progression that currently needs to be changed or reworked? Go.
Good question. The answer is probably yes. I would say probably in the like super late game is a little not as awesome as it should be right now. So like level 95 plus, kind of like where I'm getting to right now in this character. Actually, I think maybe a little bit further along. I think there's room for a few changes that could improve that experience at the very top end. It's likely it's hard to say exactly what the problem is, let alone what a solution to that could be, but I think it's like that those last few levels are probably happen a little too quickly, and the character power progression curve falls off a little hard, because so much of your power comes from skills, and you've already maxed out your skills at that point.
I absolutely agree, and I'm so happy that you say that the end game definitely needs to be reworked a little bit, or at least tweaked. Once you're level 85-ish, and you have kind of your gear, you have your skills, you have for the most part your passives, and you'll get a little bit of power from those last 15 points you get from passives, but it is not that large. I feel like 85 to 100, there's got to be something in that range. Now it's time for my question around Shaman. I've been playing this character more and more lately, so I asked this to Mike.
I know it's been commonly known that Shaman might need a little rework or buff, but what's it lacking? Totem power? I think I think it's lacking a totem skill.
New totem skill coming later on. Confirmed? Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
First off, I think we're still missing a totem skill there. That's a big part of it.
Yes.
It's a nice big void mod. That's what is it? It's T6, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're missing a totem skill. First off, I think it's also just not.
That's his
enough.
game lagging, just so you know.
I think there were performance fears that caused us to do things that nerfed its power. Not in it nerfed its smoothness. I want to say nerfed its power. Its power isn't fantastic, but I think it nerfed its smoothness. Which is a big part of the problem. This doesn't feel awesome yet. Tempest Strike is also such a major part of the ability of the build as a whole. Like in that design space, there's so much it's like focused around Tempest Strike, but not really anything in a very good way. And while we thought having a ability that didn't scale off attack speed, like it's mechanically unique, right? It's interesting, new things. It's really unpopular. Really unpopular. There's not much here, is there?
All right, I'm gonna stop him right there because then I just continued asking questions. So it's already been kind of confirmed. Tempest Strike is going to be reworked for sure. At bare minimum, I'm sure it'll scale with attack speed maybe, because right now it doesn't. And Mike pretty much just confirmed that it is missing a skill, which it is. You go to Shaman right now, you look, it's missing a skill. So we know that that is likely going to be a totem skill based upon what he just said. Now, what I asked later on, and we're not going to keep going through it, so I'll just say it, is I said what it really lacks is a movement skill, because Fury Leap is the movement skill for Shaman, and Mike said that he thinks that Fury Leap can be a great movement skill for Shaman, and I said that basically only Upheaval Totem right now scales with Fury Leap, which forces you to take Shaman that way, and then he concurred that it can use more synergies that way, which means other types of totems can also work with Fury Leap. Point being, Shaman is definitely getting an overhaul. All right, teaser number 1, Mike, go.
Here's a little. So we've been putting a lot of work into combat feel in general, just small things here and there to improve how the game feels when you're just fighting a random mob. Going through the forest or whatever.
This is needed.
And just like tightening up that experience a lot, so the combat feels better. Like punching something feels better. When it dies, it feels better. Like all these little things just to improve that experience, just polish up those feels. And so what I've got here is a little bit of example of just some more like hit VFX, death animations, just various stuff like that. Just pretty basic stuff with Warpath build. It's just a little taste of the types of things we're doing. A lot of it's really subtle, so I'll let it play for a little bit. I guess I should just talk while it's playing. So a lot of the stuff that's happening is really subtle, but I think together it makes it feel a lot better. A lot of it's just like when things connect and having the right hit VFX happen, having the directionality that happen better, like blood splatter that's happening, things like that. There's a lot of little things that work together, and sound is involved in this too. And I know there's no sound playing with the video clips, so sorry. But yeah, I think there's a lot that works together to make this just feel better overall. I should be able to use sound. I'm sorry.
Okay, being someone that has put thousands of hours into this game, you might not notice it, but this is a huge improvement, and you can hear the different sounds. Them swinging, you making contact with the enemy, their body actually shifting once they're hit, the blood splattering, and then on top of that, the death. You could actually see their bodies moving. When he tore through the bugs, you saw their wings fly off. It is a huge improvement, and it's details like this that I get comments all the time, the visuals look so old and dated. If they keep doing stuff like this, it is going to bring Last Epoch to that next level. I like this question, and I thought it was a good idea.
How would you consider adding? Probably we consider adding a lot of things. A weapon that gives base throwing damage. Yes, we have considered it, and probably will consider it many more times. It's not on the list of things to add at the moment. There are a few ways that you can kind of get that type of stat, and this kind of leans into the type of stuff you're talking about, wanting throwing damage to be viable as an alternate method, like a supplementary damage system as well. And having weapons that the overall throwing damage available with base damage on them for any build being the balance focal point, it does mean that having it as a secondary type of damage is basically impossible in most situations.
Not something right now, maybe for the future. Leak number 2.
Like the fire death animations that you're gonna see on these cuddly little crabs. So yeah, that type of fire effect, Other sound?
Crabs give a little wiggle.
Oh, the sound. Give me there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's just like this is the type of style of effect we're trying to get into, like interactions as you're playing the game. So it like instead of just dying, like if I'm playing now, if I'm with crabs, it won't have that effect. I don't think. Yeah.
Same thing I said before. It's a huge difference. It's very subtle, but the sound, the beam hitting the crab and the death across all enemies will make a huge difference for the game. All right, everyone, we have come to our final question of Dev Chat 62. And this question really gets Mike thinking and explaining. He literally rambles and answers this question over the course of 5 minutes. But I think it was a really good answer. And I do think it breaks down kind of the overall thought from 11th Hour Games on Endgame and Monolith. So I'm going to allow Mike to take out this video by answering that question. Now, before we go, Mike, as always, thank you so much for continuing your Friday live streams. The community truly appreciates it. 11th Hour Games, second to none when it comes to studios. We appreciate you. 2 asks at the end of this video. Ask number 1, I'm hoping today is the day I have earned your subscription. Oh, and today is the day you make the decision to push that little red button. I would really appreciate it. It really does help the channel. Ask number 2, check out my Patreon. Thank you to the first 42 members that have signed up. Become an instant ARPG VIP and get Patreon exclusive content at the first link in the description. Weekly blog post, weekly podcast, access to the VIP lounge in the Discord, access to a special title in the Discord, and depending on one of 6 different levels, you get lots of extra goodies. Again, first link in the description. All right, Mike, take it away.
Are your / the teams / the community's feelings? It's a lot of people to encapsulate on the end game and the end game. Meaning monos followed by empowered monos. I've made 25 plus characters, 700 hours so far. Only taken 1 into empowered because by the time I get there, I didn't feel like there was a point. There doesn't seem to be any obvious path for power creep besides hoping for better versions of stuff I'd collected along the way. Am I missing something? Do monos take too long? Maybe? I have a feeling... So we do there's sort of this these 2 game modes that we kind of have to keep in mind, and right now we're primarily, I think, designing for multiplayer as like the main game mode we're kind of keeping in the forefront, and like trying to do that without causing problems in single player is difficult for sure. And especially difficult when you don't have a large player base and all the features functioning in multiplayer to design for in a live environment. So a lot of things we design for are hypothetical situations. So it's a little tricky to get the details right. First of all, so that's a lot of these. You're hitting on some very fine points, and I think they're going to evolve a lot in the next little while between now and 1.0. I think those are the types of things that are going to end up changing quite a bit, and a lot of it's going to be based on player feedback. Which one should I do? Let's go do last room. So a lot of it's based on hypothetical situations right now, both in single player and multiplayer, really. It might be a little bit too long. I don't know. I think one of the big advantages a single player situation has is that because things aren't resetting, you do have a longer time to spend in this in the environments. So you're getting a little bit more time to go through this and come back to it after a while, type thing. Now, I think there might need to be things that change there to make that more interesting. And I do want to say, yeah, I'll come back to that actually. And then in multiplayer, there's more of an opportunity to skip ahead with friends, type thing. and that environment does rotate faster generally. So there's things that will help that, I think, as like time goes on in both situations. Then I think comes to like, okay, the possibility that maybe it feels too long. And I think that might stem more from a problem in the monolith itself that we've talked about quite a few times, which is more of just like things to do. So in this situation right here, let's pretend I can't see this line is clearly a, or even down here, like the space down here, like maybe there's something down there. Likely it's probably just a couple enemies and that's it. What if there was a possibility that down there was a portal to a boss that had a sweet extra drop, and that like there was a reason to explore more because of that? I think that type of thing, where there's just like random events that can happen in the monolith that just make it more fun to play the monolith in general, and make it more about the journey than the destination, would help this across the board. Single player, multiplayer doesn't matter. And I think that sort of thing is missing for the monolith before it really feels like a complete endgame system. Because we do get this feedback of favorite where it feels like there might be something kind of missing from the system there. And I think that's mostly what it is. And we've tried to add little things that are less intensive to add into the design to make it more interesting than just sprinting to the finish, which I know some people still do. But I think it's less prominent of just sprint to the finish than it was before, which is good, I hope. So I think it's more about improving the monolith moment-to-moment gameplay feel than changing too much of the overall structure of the monolith. But like I said, as we get more feedback, we'll see if there's something more we need to change in the overall structure. Recently, we did do a few changes to the structure of the monolith system as a whole, which speeds up getting to empowered and speeds up once you're in empowered doing multiple runs, and there's a lot of things like that we've done recently to sort of to do what you're talking about. I don't know if doing too much more of it outside of that is great yet. I hope that answers the question.